Can you hear that intro? Can you hear that intro? Not if
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Behind the Funny with your host, myself, Peter Francis, where we dive into the backgrounds of comedians that I've worked with and comedians that I'm going to work with and comedians I've worked with in the past, etc., etc. There is no script, but comedians, we do things off the top of our heads, and that's how we're going to flow with this show. This week's guest on Behind the Funny is the wonderful. Uh, I've performed with this guy many a times, and I'm bringing him to the stage. He goes by the name of Adam Blòom. Let's welcome Adam Blòom, sorry, to the stage.
Hey man,
Adam, how
I
you
just
doing? How you doing,
I'm
young
I'm
man?
really
How
I'm
you
just
doing,
trying
sir?
to the last time I saw you was Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle were going to turn up allegedly at a club, and neither of them turned up, and that's the last time I saw you. And you just written a book.
that sounds about right. Anyway, with those two, what I was going to say to Adam, it's a generic question that I ask to most people. How long have you been doing comedy?
It will be 31 years next month.
31 years. And what made you start comedy?
Um, I wanted to be a comedian from the age of 9, and then I went to a comedy club and I saw Harry Hill, and then a couple of weeks later I got sacked from my job, and I thought, well, he's inspired me, so this is the right moment, the right time, you know.
So was it something that was built in? You was always being funny from school? Have people
Oh yeah,
funny,
I
or
was the funny 5-year-old in the class. I remember making the whole class laugh at 5. But it's that thing of having a childhood dream and making that leap is the big one, isn't it? It's the leap. It's all about the leap.
what did people think about when you told them that you wanted to be a comedian? Because there was a stigma attached to comedy. That ain't no real job.
With the girlfriend I was sitting with when I was watching the comedy show, what Harry Hill was on, I said I'd like to do that one day, and she went, "What, you up there?" A little bit like, no way. And thank God I didn't listen to the negative statement, because she basically put me down.
Okay. And how did you get over that? You still persevered, obviously.
I luckily listened to my own voice rather than hers. But negative. I read an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he said he got all negative people out of his life.
Yeah, that's a great start. And
It
so,
is, isn't it?
did you get rid of her then?
No, she got rid of me.
Oh,
Um, um, yeah, it was the thought of me getting up there that put her off. I'll tell you exactly what happened.
yeah.
I was a cocktail bartender. I got sacked from my job for being rude to my boss. And then I got home from work and I said to my girlfriend, this is exact words, "I've just lost my job." And she said, "Oh, I've got some more bad news."
And she left you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Rock
How
bottom.
long was you? How long was you with her for?
6 months, maybe.
Um, well, yeah. For the back. So what? When you first got on stage, Adam,
Yes.
what was it like for you?
The first gig was, I had beginner's luck because my 6th gig was a car crash. My 11th gig was a car crash. But my first gig went well. And
Yeah, let's do your first gig first. Yeah, go on.
well, I took a few minutes to find my feet. But once I got in a roll, it started to fit together. And I kind of spent 4 years preparing my first set in a way. It was in my head for 4 years, floating
Wow.
around. So I felt like I had a baseball bat in my hand, and I was timing each punchline with when to hit it, when to hit the punchline. And because it's all new material, it's the most exciting time, because first, I never experienced being on stage. I'm not going to be bored. You're not going to be on autopilot on your first gig.
Mm,
Do 3 gigs in a night. You haven't got enough new material. You get a bit bored. And that's when you need to improvise and write new stuff. But you're never going to be bored on stage when you've got 180 people look at you for the first time in your life.
yeah.
And I felt like a baseball bat in my hand, and
Shout,
I was hitting the punchlines and getting, "That's the moment. It's funny." Hit them then, and
okay.
it felt like my whole life up till that point was one frustration up till the first gig.
So when you say that all right, so you got done a great set on your first gig, and then you said you had disasters. What was the disasters like, and what made you say, you know what, I'm going to carry on doing this regardless?
So I'm a big hip hop fan. I don't know if we've ever discussed this,
No.
but Public Enemy's first album, there's a track called Time Bomb,
Yeah.
which I urge people to listen to. And there's a line, he said, I never heard the booze, I never drank booze. I didn't listen to the booing. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I heard it when it happened, but I ignored it. I ignored its existence.
Right. Right. So you just turned a blind eye to it, basically.
Yes,
Right.
because if you focus on it, you'll think about it happening next time, and you'll lose the confidence to get up there. So I never drank booze, as obviously I stayed sober. I just like the line. I know plural of booze and booze isn't the most brilliant wording ever, but I never heard the booze. I never drank booze. It's just I ignored the negativity and I focused on being sober. And my sixth gig was up the creek, and they tore me to shreds.
Is that when is it Matt Harding was
Malcolm
hosting?
Hardy.
Malcolm Harding. Oh Jesus Christ, that was a host. And it next comment that's coming on, he could be shit. I don't know, but you know what? You judge for yourself. That's what he used to do in it.
Well, the other, there were 6 open spots in a row. The other open spot that died was a double act, and one of them punched Malcolm for slagging him off. And no, everyone thought it was me because he had a shaved head.
Oh no, they
So
used
there
to.
were,
That's up the creek in Greenwich, yeah.
yeah, which is now
They used to,
one of my favorite clubs on the planet.
it's a really good club. Back in the day, though, they used to we used to call them professional hecklers. It's like people used to just come in there on purpose just to heckle and oh my, and they used to get a thrill out of that. I never got heckled by myself, but yeah, you know, it's one of those things.
No, but you,
Adam,
when you weren't doing it in '93 though, it was a bear pit
no, I
then.
worked in '93. Oh hell no. What happened in? Tell us what about
No,
'93.
it was '94, February '94. They wanted blood. They wanted blood.
Well, I've heard the rumors. When you say they wanted blood, they would come at you. They would.
They were the open spot section
Yeah,
was, this is where we're going to take the lamb to the
yeah,
slaughter.
yeah,
And when you've been done 5 gigs and they've all gone well, or certainly different levels of good,
yeah.
you don't expect to have I genuinely naively thought that if I'd had 5 good gigs, I'll never have a bad gig.
Mm.
Cut to 30 years later, I'm still having bad gigs.
I first met you, Adam. It was in a program. I think it was called "So You Think You're Funny." I think it was the pilot thing they were doing, and I think it was me, you, Dave Ward on that show. Can you remember that show?
Was it called Show Me the Funny?
Show Me the Funny. That's what it was. It's the first time I ever met you, and I looked at your style of comedy. I said, "This guy he's a conversationalist." How would you describe yourself as a
Well,
comedian?
I actually think I do jokes, but I disguise them as conversation, because if I've got a line about being a parent and I've got 5 lines about being a parent, I put them in order of the age of the child, and it looks like I'm talking about childbirth or pregnancy, childbirth, having a second child. But in actual fact, they are jokes. So I've disguised them as conversations. So if I achieve that, that's great, because in actual fact, and also I interact with my audience in and out of my bit. The first
Yeah.
time I saw you,
There you go.
Josh Howie said the N word on stage.
Serious? Where was
He
this? In
said
Scotland or something?
this was in London, and
Okay.
there's no way he'd get away with it now. And you in the audience, I looked to you to see how you felt. Obviously, it was a joke.
Yeah.
It wasn't a racist sentence. It was a twisty, clever joke. But nonetheless, he still used that word,
Right.
which now would be unacceptable, right?
Did I?
No, I looked at you
Yeah.
because I wanted to see if you were pissed off, because it was a very thin ice joke.
Right.
And I looked at you and you went, so I've got something. And your opening line was to flip it back on him. And I thought it was very, I mean, look, 2024, social rules have changed. We have etiquette, we have rules. We now know you just don't say it, which is why I just didn't just say it now. But he had a joke about it. And it was a joke about Chris Rock's difference between black people and
So
different
white,
types of
white,
black
so
people.
black
Yeah.
comedy. Yeah. Yeah.
But I watched you, so he had a joke about that joke. And I watched you and I thought, is he offended? And you went, no, I've got something. And you walked on
Yeah.
and bang. And I thought, that's a sign of a good comedian, because you were you were the open spot. You were the 10-minute
Yeah.
spot.
Probably. Was this
But
a
what?
Junglers gig or something?
No, it was a pub gig. But
Oh,
but
it's
the,
okay.
the
Okay.
but the point I'm making, I'm crediting you,
Thanks.
because your opening line got him back.
Right.
So like, okay, well, two can play at that game, and of course you've got massive rights now. You know,
Yeah. Because he's giving me
you're the
punches.
minority in the room
Yeah.
talking about the majority talking about you. So you slapped him back, and I thought it's good, because you came out of your prepared set to open. For me, a comedian has to acknowledge what's happened before them if it's significant. So going on and just doing your act, I've got a call for it on Friday. I'm going to do two jokes about that industry. I'm not going to walk
Right.
on and just go, "Hello, here's my story about me." You know, it's that thing about starting the gig. I mean, I saw Mitch Hedberg,
Wow.
2005, followed Sean Cullen, who used to be in Cork in the Juice Pigs, who's a phenomenal musical comedian. He's from Canada, in Canada, doing a musical set about pornography. But it was clever. It wasn't just porn, porn, porn.
Right,
And
right, right.
he did this set, and the room went berserk. 600 people, and there's no MC. They just went, "Please welcome Mitch Hedberg." And he walked on stage. He went, "That's right. Put me on after the local guy doing songs." Right. That's
Yeah,
all it took.
yeah, yeah. Well, he was crust like that. Your style is very similar kind of thing, but you improvise a lot. Is
Yeah.
that just you being natural, or is that something that you've incorporated in your set, or do you sort of like write your material to give you that free space to improvise?
Both. So I do write bits that allow me to have tangents and allow me to ask questions at the beginning.
Right.
And I also have bits that interact with the front row, so I build a relationship with them to then talk to them afterwards. But the point is that once I started getting comfortable on stage, I realised that my mind wanders and I say funny things and I just let it
Naturally.
come out.
Yeah, and it comes out naturally, Adam,
Thank you.
and that's what I like. I like that style about you. Because what's your sort of like your stance on what's happening with the internet comedians compared to the grafted comedians, or do you think they're grafted, or do you not bother?
The problem I've got with American ones is that um, they're doing stuff that doesn't have a defined persona. Because if you watch someone without a defined persona doing an hour, you soon realize I don't know who this person is. They're not giving me their consistency to their style. I don't know who you are. You watch a great comedian, you go, okay, I know who you are. We mentioned Chappelle, Chris Rock, Mitch Hedberg. You know who they are very quickly, and there's a consistency, bang. When I watch some of these people doing 30-second clips, when I watch three or four different 30-second clips, I go, I'm not getting enough of the consistency of who you are, which works over 30 seconds. But you go and see someone do an hour who's not good over longer than a minute, then you might have a problem. So we're living in a world of 30-second clips. I mean, I joined Instagram a year ago to promote a book I wrote. Up to
We'll talk about the book in a minute,
Thank
but
you,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I put some clips up to get some traction,
right,
and people were saying to me, "No, that's too long. It's a minute and a half. It's too long. A minute and a half." So they were saying the optimum times 25 seconds that people watch for.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The idea that people are bored 30 seconds into a minute show worries me about attention spans.
Mm,
So when these people who are good over 30 seconds have
yeah,
a massive following, they're not necessarily good over an hour because they've mastered 30 seconds.
yeah, and they can't. You mean they can't do, or should I say, elongate? Is that a word?
Yeah,
When it comes,
I just elongated the word elongate.
there you go. Adam, you like I say, you got your style. Okay, you wrote a book. What made you write the book? And
Um,
what is the book about? To tell the truth.
I wrote an advanced book on stand-up comedy. All books on stand-up comedy are how to do it. They're not how to do it better. I wrote a book for comedians. And the reason that I got a friend called A.D. Lloyd, who's an actor and magician, and he kept saying to me, Adam, write a book, write a book, keep write a book, write a book. Then my dad died,
Right.
and I had a bit of a hole in my life. So New Year's resolution, gave up drinking, started writing a book. And you've written a book, you've written two, right?
I've written two books. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's
That's
great.
fine.
Well, there's no second book in me. Anne Frank is more Anne
It's
Frank
hard
is more
work.
likely to Anne Frank is more likely to have a sequel than me.
Yeah, I know it's definitely hard work. But yeah, I've got two books. What's the name of your book?
Finding Your Comic Genius.
Okay. Wow. Okay. What made you come up with that title? That's interesting.
Well, the original title was The Perfect Punchline, and about 2 months before it came out, someone brought out a book called The Perfect Punchline. So I had to come up with a new idea, and the Perfect Punchline's short, it's got alliteration, but Finding Your Comic Genius is reminding you that you could be a genius but not actually be able to write the right joke yet, because as you know, it's a craft, right? Funny people are born and comedians are made, no doubt whatsoever.
Oh, I love that quote, bro. I'm gonna have to
You like
quote
that
that one.
one?
Yeah. No, I like
It's
that quote.
true.
That's a good one.
No
Yeah.
one, no one's the best comedian they ever were on their first gig.
Mm, mm. So we make
You-
ourselves, we mold ourselves into being the.
Mold,
Well,
yeah. You
that's a
find
natural progression, is it? You become
it's a
better
natural
every
progression.
time.
Yeah, you learn to write a joke better and or routine better. You understand storytelling. I mean, my favorite DVD ever is Eddie Murphy Raw, and some of the stories he has, they tangent, they twist and turn. His mum and dad on the phone. He's having a fight in a nightclub. It goes to his mum and dad's. Go back to the phone call. The structure is unbelievable. That did not come by just getting on stage and being funny. That came from lots of thinking and structuring and improving. And he probably had writers. I think he had writers for that show. But either way, the guy's a phenomenon, and no one starts off that good. Just it cannot happen.
Well, you never know. I tried. I'm still doing it. What I was going to say to you, how often do you
I
write a
don't.
joke? Huh?
I don't.
What do you do? This
I
is
walk down
interesting.
the street, a funny idea hits me, I take it on stage in a raw form and I tweak it on stage each time I do it, and it builds and builds.
I believe you. I do, because a lot of comedians do write. I mean, I write. I write sometimes. I improvise sometimes. I do all of it, but I do write a lot. It's just something that I've always done from school. I don't see you write, and I see that you just take your information and put it on stage and deliver. And you're one of the comedians that I also say he's not afraid whether it hits or misses. Is that something that's in you, or I mean, when I say I'm not afraid, I mean you're wary of it, yes, because you're testing out your material, but you're not afraid of it.
I'm happy to fail. I'm not happy to have a bad gig.
Right, right.
I'm happy for a line to fail, yeah, but I'm not happy to have a bad gig. I mean, some people are so self-indulgent, they'll try out new material when they're closing a late show not doing well. And I'm like, hit 'em with your A game for God's sake.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm not that brave, but there's a level where brave turns into self-indulgent, and you know, people have paid good money. They've got babysitters. They're spending money they might not have. You owe them a show.
So let's take the constructive criticism. How would you deal with that? If someone gives you, do you take it on board, or do you just say, whatever?
I mean, I mean, my best friend since I was 2 years old thinks I'm a writer. Ed Byrne thinks I'm an
Okay.
actor, and I don't realise it yet. But these are strengths. You can be a brilliant comedian and a better actor. You can be a brilliant writer and a brilliant comedian, a better writer. But I mean, negative. You know, when someone comes up to you and when you get I don't know, a tweet saying you're not funny. You know, you're a vile human being. I got once.
Yeah.
I mean, she saw me make a joke to her in the front row that was clearly a joke, but she
Mm.
obviously it brought her back to the bullies at school, and she took it personally on the woman's behalf. It's always someone's offended on someone else's behalf. You know this, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
never the person in the wheelchair that writes the joke about the wheelchair joke offended them. It's the friend who knows someone in a wheelchair. This is an age-old observation.
Hmm.
So when someone says to me, I didn't like what you said to me, that hurt, then I'll listen. But when someone says that was offensive to that person who they never met, I got a problem with that. You're telling me you're telling me how you think someone else felt. Because because the person in the wheelchair probably feels glad to be included in the comedy. You
Well,
know,
I have to say to you, I have done a joke not about a person in a wheelchair, but about being because I had a relative who was slightly Down syndrome,
okay.
and well, they need to laugh too, bruv. But I talk about it, but it's a real fact, and some people get offended a bit about it, and some people just accept it because I'm. But what I like to do is have that person in the audience when I'm making that joke. Then the caution is better. You see, without that person in the audience, that joke hits hard, and people like condemn it. Oh, why you say that and all that thing. That's why I asked you the question. How do you feel about people coming up to you? Because you've been in this business for a long time, and you must have faced a lot of battles in your life with negativity and positivity. And I just wanted to know how you coped with it.
Well, it's never the joke about Germany is never a German person complaining. The joke about deaf people is never deaf people complaining. The joke about Germany, I'm the victim of the joke. The joke about deaf people, my barber's the victim of the joke. So when someone goes, my parents were both deaf, I'm like, well, I've triggered you. I've triggered you. You grew up being bullied by kids. If your parents were both deaf, someone at school is going to mock you because your parents were deaf. You cannot go through childhood with two deaf parents and not have someone make a joke about how silent it is in your house. You can't. So that person goes, "My parents were deaf." I go, "Yeah, but the jokes about my barber being made a fool of. It's not, it's not a joke about, my joke about Germany is I'm the victim of the joke for misunderstanding an audience staring at me. And I think they're staring at me because I'm talking too quickly. So I slow down each night. And it turns out what I'm saying is offensive, not the speed. is being misheard. So I've yet to have someone say to me, I am that person and I'm offended. And if they were,
Yeah.
I'd say, I'm really sorry I triggered you, but can we look at what I said? A
In the
joke,
whole perspective. Yeah.
a perspective.
Yeah.
Rob Rouse, when he once said You Think Funny, he had a joke about rape where the victim was the way tabloid newspapers report stories.
Mm.
So there was no, you go, you're laughing at rape. No, I'm not. I'm laughing at the sun.
Didn't I think Reginald Lee Hunter has a joke like that as well, didn't it? And I think
I don't know, but I wouldn't surprise me. He's very good at.
yeah, I haven't seen him for a while. I must get him on here. How do you know when your joke is ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
um, I bounce around in my head. I feel it's landing on the right word. I feel like everything is in place. I try it, and if it doesn't work, I go back to the drawing board.
It's trial and error.
Yes, trial and error. I mean, what amazes me, and you'll know this too, is you can't know a joke's funny. The audience will tell you. I mean, 3 or 4 times ever, I've completely cracked up laughing walking down the street at an idea I've had, and they always work because if it makes me shudder, then it's a really, really, really powerful line.
Yeah.
But so that's my the only guarantee a joke's going to really work is if I piss myself laughing at walking down the street.
Yeah.
It's happened three or
I
four
I
times.
I agree with that. I also agree that a joke is never ending because there's always bits that you can add on to it.
Yeah, toppers, and yeah, I used to have a bit about meeting God, and it got, I don't know, got old and stopped doing it, and I brought it back one day, and I improvised a bit in the middle, and it gave it new life. It was a bit like getting a new cushion for your sofa, and suddenly your sofa looks different.
I was gonna say, are there any comedians out there, right, that you'd like to work with that you haven't worked with as yet?
I mean, my favorite comedian is called Neil Hamburger. Have you heard of him?
No.
It's a
Where's he
character
from?
comedian from the States. He was over recently. I'd love to be on a bill with him. I mean, Mitch Hedberg's gone. I work with Sean Locke a lot.
Okay.
Um,
Sure.
Being on a bill with one of your heroes. I mean, I supported Harry Hill a couple of years ago, and just felt amazing because he's the reason I did it. But left to work. I mean, the absolute greats right now. Chappelle. I think his last couple of specials were a bit disappointing, but when he's on form, I think he's the best there is at the moment. When he's, I mean, I saw him at the Backyard a couple of months before you and I were there to see him, but he was there and
Yeah.
his improv was phenomenal. It was like watching God plucking stars out of the sky and just making shooting stars whenever he wanted one to appear. It was it was the most effortless improv I've ever seen. He couldn't not be brilliant. He couldn't. Everything he said off the top of his head was amazing. Every
Do,
word.
do you think that could be something that he's so elevated up there that no matter what he says, people are just gonna find him funny?
So I've talked about this before with a friend. His comfort zone was off the scale. He had a room of adoring fans who couldn't believe they're in his presence. Now, of course, you're at your funniest when the audience trusts you, but he still got there. Yeah, if he was unknown, let's say you plonked him in, I don't know, let's say there's a country that doesn't have any of his shows. Let's say you plonked him in Uganda where they
Okay.
where YouTube's banned. Those are some words. China. There we go, China. So let's say
China.
China. You stuck him in an audience of English-speaking Chinese people who'd never heard of him. He would have not had that confidence. No, but he would have
Right.
still been brilliant. He would have still been brilliant, of course. But the comfort zone he was in, there were adoring fans hanging on every word. He felt funny the second he was there. They were like, like that. Now that,
Yeah.
even when I do Edinburgh and I have people who've come to see me, even if they don't know who I am, they bought a ticket with my name on it. The fact that they're there to see me, even if they haven't heard of me, I become more confident. It's my playground, right? It's my playground. I haven't entered the playground; they've entered my playground. So yeah, you can't get more confident than Dave Chappelle in front of a room of adoring Dave Chappelle fans. But he still did it. Those words still came out of his mouth. Him and his absolute comfort zone was phenomenal, and you can't put that all down to fame and followers. It was him, his comic mind. It was unbelievable to witness. It's the best improv I've ever seen.
Well, okay. Well, that's saying a lot because I know you've seen a lot of comedians. You mentioned Edinburgh. How often do you go down to Edinburgh? Is it
Well,
every
funny you
few
mention it. I
months
did
or?
did 9 nights this year. I haven't been for 17 years. I did it 5 years running once. It became part of my life. And
I
I,
met you. I met you in Edinburgh when I was doing my Edinburgh show, and I was also doing I was hosting for the Hollywoods. There was about three Hollywood comedians from USA, and I did my show up in Edinburgh, and I met you there. But it was like that you was there every year, constantly churning out material, different types of material. How do you find it? Like you just said, you went there for 9 nights. Did you say 9 nights?
Yeah, it was the best. I got talked into going, and it
Mm.
was the best decision I made this year because you got comedy fans in the audience. They're not just they. Some of them have
Yeah, real
travelled,
comedy fans. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, from other countries even, and yeah, it was too good to be true. And also, when you do Edinburgh, as you know, 25 nights in, you're a little bit bored of your own material.
Yeah.
So I think an Edinburgh peaks in a week in because you're still tweaking it. You're excited, but then 4 weeks in, you're a little bit like, oh, when's this festival going to end? So 9 nights was incredible because you don't get bored at 9 nights. If anything, I was just getting into my stride at 9 nights. I wish I could have done another week. So doing 9 nights after a 17-year break meant every hour was like gold dust for me up there, and the audience felt that.
Will you be going in 2025?
Probably not,
Okay.
because
What?
I'm too.
No, finish off. Go on.
Oh, thank you. You're very polite. I'm doing a lot of ghostwriting for other people, so I don't think I've got time to bang out a brand new hour because I'm doing 3 writing jobs a week.
It's funny you should say that. When I first started, that's what I was doing, ghostwriting for other people.
Were you other comedians?
Yeah, yeah,
Were
that's what
you
I
doing
was
that
doing
before you did stand up?
before. Because I used to write plays, a lot of plays in school, and then I
Wow,
started to write stand-up comedy for other people, and then I was told to do stand-up comedy, and
wow! I had no idea. No
worst
idea.
worst nightmare of my life when I did my. I tell you, for the whole month leading up to my first show, 5 minutes. It was just 5 minutes. I couldn't eat. I lost weight. Me
I
and
lost
Paula were
weight.
best friends. It was that first show, and the show went good, which is something that I think that feeling. I actually like that feeling of being nervous, which when you generate nervous energy. I think if I ever lose that nervous energy feeling, I think I'm not supposed to do comedy because I believe that for me it is that nervous energy is something that drives me with my ego to get on stage to perform.
Well, facing
Without
a fear, facing a
sorry,
fear, facing a
yeah,
fear, get into the
facing
arena.
fear. This is
Yeah,
it.
it's a great thing. I remember being on holiday and my first gig back,
Mm.
just pacing up and down when the audience had just about to arrive, doing a sound check, and that little butterflies. I was like, yeah, this is the fix I need. I haven't got that little. You feel alive. It's better to be nervous and bored, right?
That's right.
And
Exactly.
but you talk about losing. Well, I lost some. I couldn't eat the whole day of a gig. I woke up, went good day. I'd open my eyes in the morning, go good day. First thought in my mind, I couldn't eat all day, not a thing. I lost
Yeah.
loads of weight,
See,
and
people don't understand what we go through, man.
no,
Yeah.
but I remember third gig back to go on stage, and I was just felt like I was a dog, a fox being chased by a pack of dogs. Nothing's happened. There's a room of people sitting there, and in my head, there's all this going on in my head, and all that was happening was nothing. There was a room of people
Yeah.
sitting down with a drink, waiting for the interval to finish, and I've got this in my head, this dialogue with myself.
Circulation of thoughts type thing.
Yeah, nothing's
Whizzing
happening.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
nothing's happening.
nothing's, you can't decipher it. You're like, oh my God, where do I start? Oh God, what's my
Yeah.
opening joke? Man, these are different. Where is it for you now? Where do you want to go to? Where do you want to be?
Well, the thing is, I kind of my early years were very like almost meteoric. I went from open spots to pay gig to television in like 2.5 years,
Yeah, yeah.
and then regular television 4 or 5 years in, and then it kind of fizzled out a bit. Now I'm 54 in December.
Oh,
I
54.
don't think the comedy industry is that excited about a
First
54
of
year
all,
old.
let's just stop there. For a white guy, you don't look 54, bruv. Yeah?
You know,
So, I've been using some of our coconut oil or some cocoa butter because you don't look 54. Because
well,
normally,
thank you. You love this.
normally
You
if I see a white guy in 54, he looks old and he's cracking and he's got,
check
oh,
out the guns as well. Look.
take you out. So obviously you train.
I
Yeah?
train, but the skin thing, you'll love this. When I mention my age on stage, there's a little like like really, and I go, I know, black don't crack.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That's a good, yeah, I know.
I say it like I've heard someone say it, and I don't understand it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it often like up the creek, it gets a laugh, but the pockets of black people instead again. The white people are going, can we laugh at this? The black people are going, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and
That's we're back to the
this
wheelchair. We're back to the
yeah,
wheelchair.
yeah, it's well. You see, this is another thing with comedy. It's almost like people seek permission to laugh from other races type thing. If you're making a joke regarding to the way, that's why I do like diversity in the rooms. Yeah, then everybody's laughing as unison rather than individually.
Yeah, it's
So
wonderful. So I heard, Nathan Caton.
yes, I know him.
I mean, he's the picture. He's the most well-mannered person you could meet, right? He knocks
Very
on the
polite,
door.
isn't he?
He knocks on the door at the dressing room at the comedy store before he goes into his own dressing room. That's how polite he is, right?
Check him out.
So you'll love this. A white comedian said to him, Nathan, can I ask you a question? He went, I'm not going to be the judge of all black material. So he knew when a white
What he was
comedian
going to
said, can
say?
I ask you a question? He knew he was going to try a joke. He went, no. So what I love is this really polite bloke just went, no,
Yeah,
even
very good.
before he knew what the question was, because he knew what the question was going to be. I love this.
Yeah,
Went,
that's
no,
funny.
no.
Yeah,
Um,
that's funny.
I've
Oh,
my dad's Jewish. I was brought up by my non-Jewish mother, but I've had people ring me up and say, "Is this offensive? Is this anti-Semitic?" And it's like they need proof, they need acceptance from me before they do it. But back to the 54. What's my? Oh yeah, the industry's not. If I had some reborn of this just churned out loads of material that was good and TV friendly, and there was hours of it. I don't think the industry would be that excited because they're looking for the next big thing, and the next
right,
big thing's not a 54-year-old white guy who was on television in the 90s.
right.
A kid's toy. A kid plays with its newest toy. For Christmas, you get your toys Christmas Day. You don't put your new toy down at Christmas Day and pick out your old Lego bricks that are falling apart. Not the Lego bricks falling apart, but with a little bit of a bogey on one end of it. The point is that people are excited about the newest things.
So a question I have to ask you then: do you think there's an ageism in comedy then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know comedians who aren't getting booked as much as they
Right.
used to, who are as good as they ever were. And if they said to a promoter, why don't you book me? They'll go, well, my audience are younger. We go, hang on. Wokeness is an awareness of social injustice, particularly regarding race. Social injustice as well as race can be age discrimination. We don't like you, you're old. But our
Right.
audience are young. Yeah, wait a minute. But if your audience are young, you can go, our audiences are predominantly young white men. So that means we won't book female comedians, we won't book non-white comedians. The point is that being old in a room with young people means you can talk about the age difference. Just like people talk
Okay.
about culture, just like if a Chinese comedian walks on stage and talks about how different their childhood was compared to your, or let's say an Indian kid talks about the pressure his parents put on him to go to university, that whole, the Asian stereotype of you'll be a doctor, you'll be this. We can laugh at that because we understand it.
Mm.
Just like we can laugh at an old comedian talking about losing their bladder control. So my point is age discrimination, and I'm not a victim of this yet. I'm talking about comedians in the late 60s.
Right.
They're not getting booked because they're too old. You go, hang on, isn't that what injustice is? Now,
Mm.
I know that oppression doesn't apply the same to old people it does as we're talking about over years of systemic racism. Of course. But once you reach that stage in your life, you're becoming pushed aside because you don't look like your audience anymore. But if you're funny and your audience likes you, why shouldn't you be booked as
Why
much
should
as
you not get
before?
booked? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, where is it for you now? Where's your journey going?
Well, I wrote my book has opened up a whole new world for me because I'm probably 8 times busier as a ghostwriter than I was at this time 14 months ago. And I've been traveling around Europe and some of Asia even doing book masterclasses where I do 6-hour Q&As about my book. So in the
Mm.
last 10 days, I was in Dublin, Rotterdam, Basel, Zurich within 10 days,
And that's based all on the book. You're doing stand
all
up
on the
as well, I
book.
presume.
What's that?
You're doing stand up as well,
Well,
or you just
but this is a beautiful thing. The four things that have come from the book are book royalties, masterclasses, more ghostwriting work, and gigs at places I've been doing the masterclasses because the festival in Rotterdam, they wouldn't have thought of booking me because I'm not on their radar.
yeah, 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 yeah. So the book's helping. Mm.
Yeah, but I didn't even think about it. I always thought it was three things: royalties, masterclass, writing. But it's actually four things. It's gigs where I'm doing the classes, which is a bonus. That's not the reason I'm there. I didn't go to Singapore to do 2 gigs. I went to Singapore to do 3 masterclasses.
Yeah, 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 and it pans out. Well, maybe that's your journey, sir. But you're
It's a
staying
great
in
journey.
comedy. You're staying in comedy, and that's the main thing. When's your next show in the UK? Or have you done a tour in the
No,
UK?
I toured in 1999 when I had the TV. I haven't toured since. So I don't think enough people would come. I don't think I have enough of a TV presence or social media presence. I've got 2,500 followers on Instagram and I haven't been on TV for 15 years.
Right, right. So is it something that you're going to now try to do? Build up your
No,
Instagram following?
no. I'm
No?
very
Nothing
happy.
else?
I'm very happy being the author of a book that's get me. I,
Work.
I'm still, yeah, I'm still gigging,
Yeah.
but the book means the circuit is not my main living. So my writing work, masterclasses, royalties is my living, and the circuit's a bonus. And I've never in all this time had the circuit as secondary. It's always been primary. I'm
Because
very anal like
he's
that.
smart. When you
I'm
see him
very
on
anal.
stage, he's a clever dude, and he comes up with these clever things like that. You go, oh, Adam, where can they find you? What is your social handles? Let's build you up a little following, even if you
My
don't want
Instagram
to.
is Adam Blòom Comedy. Simple as that. Adam Blòom Comedy. And I'm not. I don't push clips of myself. You're quite active, aren't you, with clips?
Yeah, I have to be. I've been told to. So I've got to keep pushing out the clips
They're good
because I'm
clips,
trying to
though.
build it.
It's good. It's
Uh,
good stuff, though. I watched them.
yeah, yeah. I've got to put out some stuff there.
But you put stuff on a big stage, right? You promote. You don't promote yourself in a corner of a pub. You put the big gigs up.
Oh, that's coming. The only problem with that is that when I do little gigs like that, it's because I'm working on new sets, and so I don't really want to expose them on YouTube. So something because one of the pet hates, I don't mind it sometimes. When people, oh, I've heard that joke before. You ever had that one? I've heard that
Yeah,
joke before. Yeah.
sure.
So let me put it out properly. Then if someone says, oh, I've heard that before, then that's fine because they wouldn't hear it in the full capacity. Just so they only heard snippets or little tiny bits of it.
Sure.
That's why I don't really record any stuff in the little small venues because I use the small venues to test out my material.
Yeah,
And
sure. But you're good. You got a YouTube channel, right?
yeah, I've got.
By the way, don't take this personally. I haven't followed anyone's YouTube channel ever.
You
I
better
don't.
follow mine.
But no, but just sometimes people say to me, "Oh, I've got this channel," and I'm like, I have never clicked follow on a single YouTube channel. And the other thing is, I'm not on Facebook. I remember you said something about Facebook. I said, I'm not on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook ever, and I only joined Instagram.
Now you're being a 54-year-old, brother.
Well, here's a 54-year-old. I've been on Twitter for 14 years.
Yes, definitely. Adam, we can find Adam at Adam Blòom. That's it. Adam Blòom on all socials. Well, he's gonna have all socials by the time I've put this out. I tell you what, he's a great comedian. I love it. I can't wait to work with you again, bro, when you're in London. But we're gonna arrange that. All right, through this, we're going to arrange that. And most of the people that's going to be on this, I'm going to arrange a great show. So
Oh,
we all come
really?
together. Oh, yeah,
What
this is... Sorry?
of all your guests? Are you gonna have all
Of
your
all my
guests?
guests, yes, I'm going to try and bring them all together. And then we're going to have one of the biggest shows that's ever happened in the UK. Yeah, definitely tell you. Adam, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank
And we're going
you.
to do this again. I love you lots, bro. Look, take care of yourself. And it was a
Thank you,
pleasure
everyone.
meeting you. Take care. Bye. Take care of yourself, man. Oh, that was beautiful.
Wow, you're very generous, Peter.